What is going on? Welcome to Vinyl Happy Hour. I am Skylar Davis, owner of Culture Shock Clothing and Records here in Rockford, Illinois, an avid vinyl collector of all types of music. I have been for years, many years before I even had this store. But for Vinyl Happy Hour, we're going to talk about, I've got a couple of bittersweet things to talk about, and I'm really pumped because I'm unboxing a special release from one of my favorite bands of all freaking time. I do like to talk about a lot of indie store exclusives and what makes some of these releases special and interesting and why you should be paying attention to them or picking them up when you see them. We're also going to talk about what happens when you fail to pre-order or know about a release that's coming out. Something sad that can happen. So that's why it's great for you to keep up with what we're doing here on Vinyl Happy Hour and subscribe to our channel if you already haven't. And then you will be cued into knowing, of course, subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss updates when we're doing a video. If you're already subscribed, you better be liking the video too, because I really appreciate that and I love to see the comments you guys leave us too. First, I'm going to start with something really poppy, really just great sounding album actually. Ava Max, not totally sure on the pronunciation. We're going to rope her into Rockford, even call her somewhat of a local girl even. She is from Milwaukee, so that's not too far away. So pretty interesting to see a pop star on this level coming from our part of the country. If you haven't heard her yet, you probably, let's just say you have. Her stuff's very catchy, very poppy. Her hooks have been used in a lot of different things on social media platforms and stuff. A lot of people throw comparisons, and you can hear definitely a lot of that cool dancey pop of like Dua Lipa and of course Lady Gaga. Just some great pop songs here. Heaven and Spelled Out and Kings and Queens and Sweet But Psycho, I'm sure you've probably heard. But she's actually Albanian. Her family had moved here from Albania. I read about a little. It's pretty interesting, and she's got a big shout out. The insert, I love when a record doesn't come with just a plain inner sleeve. And there is a plain inner sleeve, but there's also lyrics to her songs, and she's got a really nice, sweet thank you to her fans. Of course, she calls them the Avatar Nation, and that's funny. And to her mom and dad, pretty interesting to see where they had come from, and they were actually musicians too. And now she's doing great albums. So she actually did this one. This is called Heaven and Hell, and there's the clear orange vinyl, and there's also a blue vinyl version. Also, I should mention that links to all of these albums, if they are still available, are in our link below. So you can go to cultureshockshop.com and pick out your choice for either in-store pickup or we'll ship it to you very carefully. And this one is available on both the clear orange vinyl or the blue vinyl. I kind of like, the Heaven and Hell kind of mix of it too. I feel like the sky blue and the orange, not just her hair color and everything, but kind of the Heaven and Hell feel to it. So yeah, I got some different Heaven and Hell stuff to talk about later. I mean, if you don't already know, that's a big Dio and Sabbath reference, but keep that in mind. So the other thing I talked about, why this is bittersweet, and it's sad for me even, oh my God. Let's discuss the new Weezer album. I'm gonna tell you, you can't get this. They're sold out already. We don't even have any for sale. Our friend John Tallman, thanks to him for letting me borrow this just for demonstration purposes. OK Human. This is kind of a surprise drop from them, and they even did this limited, they call it Control Room Splatter. The reason I can tell that this is a good Weezer album, not to say they haven't put out all good albums, but less critically acclaimed and definitely not as many fan favorites the last few albums, because this one's sold out already. We've had a lot of requests for this on our website and in store. Even Black Vinyl, we don't have any copies on its release for sale. So we're just showing this off. But keep in mind, we will be getting Black Vinyl copies in soon, hopefully. But at the moment, they're sold out already. So that, to me, tells me it's a good album already. I did take some time to listen to it. Even though it's streaming, I love to put on records and listen to them. That's how I really pay attention and, dig into an album. The artwork's really cool, really different from all the other Weezer albums. That's another good clue that something different's going on. Their last few albums have been, a little bit of a letdown. Very, very poppy. This one obviously still has great pop sensibilities, but the arrangement of strings and just this kind of like old world music being brought in to mix with this new modern sound, it's great. Obviously we're going to throw a lot of like, oh yeah, no, I like the Beatles and Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, stuff like that, which they've always been influenced by. And there's a couple tunes that do rock a little too. But mostly, all my favorite songs are sad songs, stuff like that. That's one of the songs on here, and a lot of them are kind of sad songs, and I love that about them. Even though they're very poppy, very, feel-good music, it is sad music in a way. But the mixture of the piano and strings in here is really good. Of course, the artwork, you can't take in all the detail probably on your phone or whatever you're watching this on, unless you popped it over to your TV. But the artwork's really cool too. Usually you just see the guys hanging out or some other stuff they've had. Of course, we'll never forget Hurley being on the cover of one of the albums. Cool artwork, just a cool release. I love the color vinyl. This is an indie store exclusive. Like I said, it is already sold out. So all the people, thank you to all the people who ordered in our store and on our website. You'll be getting yours, but until they do a rebatch or maybe another version of it, we won't have any. So, but it's a great album. So look forward to this coming out. Kind of a funny story, if you haven't kept up with Weezer, I will mention they were planning on releasing Van Weezer is the album. Very Van Halen sounding. And doing an arena tour and stuff, but of course this pandemic hit. That has been temporarily suspended, and they did this album kind of out of the blue. So this was a really happy surprise for us that we didn't even know this album was coming. So I'm guessing now in the same year, we might actually get another Weezer album, which is, to me, I feel like they're constantly setting themselves up to do a blue album and then a Pinkerton or something like that. That's my hopes and my goals for them. So anyway, that's it. So thanks for letting me check that one out. Here's another really interesting one I love. This is kind of a collector series, 7-inch. We don't talk a lot about 45s or 7-inch or whatever you want to call them on the show. But this is a really cool kind of limited collector's edition. They're calling it Toots the Maytals. Two of their biggest songs. I'm sure you've heard it. If you haven't, Pressure Drop was covered by The Clash, I think on the first Clash album. And where my introduction really came to them was 5446. 5446 was my number. It was on that Sublime album, 40 Ounces of Freedom. And of course, Sublime and tons of other bands totally ran off with that ska, rocksteady, reggae sound. But this is some of the origins of that. Actually, Toots and the Maytals, I guess, invented reggae music, the word reggae. They were in the 60s calling, their music, they had a reggae song and stuff like that, and that's where the word took off. So they really did invent reggae, let's say, even though it was probably already being done by a lot of other groups. But these guys have a soulful sound. The kind of the Motown soul and other soul, early soul, was what they were going with a more kind of primitive, dancey rhythm. And these songs are my two probably favorite songs from them. So it's really cool to see that they did this Jamaican or Rasta, inspired 7-inch on colored vinyl. It's a limited, it's $20. But, I mean, whatever. If you really like those songs and just want those two songs, plus you've got this really cool color vinyl version and different photo of the singer, it's just a cool little package. It's a collector's piece, so I thought that was pretty cool. I had to show that off since we don't show off many 45s usually. Let's just talk quickly here. Let's talk about some death metal. I'm drinking some blackened whiskey because now we're going to get pretty metal. This is Metallica's whiskey, so I was like, oh, I got to bust this out for some metal stuff tonight. So this is Carcass. This is Reek of Putrefaction. If you don't know this album, this is one of the first uber death metal gore grind albums that ever came out. I think 87. The year on this says 2021. This is remastered for full definition sound. If you want death metal full definition sound, here it is. Earache is reissuing this. This is they're a UK band, I believe. Well, European, yeah, I think a UK band. This is brutal though. And in the 80s, you've got to think the heaviest stuff that a lot of people knew at the time was only like, let's say Def Leppard and Iron Maiden and some stuff that might have been a little more underground. But this is when stuff just went full bore, brutal. Let's just talk about some of the tracks here. Regurgitation of Giblets, Maggot Colony, stuff like that. I think it's hilarious. They don't take it, I mean, some people take it quite serious probably, but look at it to me, in a way I look at it as like a horror movie or something like that, or a scary book or something, It's funny, it's silly, and this is what inspired tons of other bands to do the most ridiculous, over-the-top song titles, sounds, screams, other things like that, and just put your limit on, put your instruments to the limit, What's kind of interesting about this, too, is in modern times, they didn't reissue it with the full artwork. You just get a little sliver of what the original artwork was. You can see a little bit of teeth and brains and blood and other thing. It's just kind of funny. So that's the reissue of it, and it is mixed for, they call it the 2020 edition, so it's been remixed and remastered. But it's just kind of interesting. That's kind of a historic album for brutal, for extreme metal, extreme music. They actually put out their first two albums, Symphonies of Sickness, also. So I just thought I'd mention that. It's just kind of interesting to see the types of music that is getting reissued and stuff like that. You've got things from reggae to death metal and all sorts of things in between. Like I mentioned, we were talking about Heaven and Hell. So the songs Heaven and Hell and even some of the music from the Heaven and Hell Black Sabbath album are on these Dio live recordings. We've got to show this off a little more. So these are, I think, first time ever getting released. I don't think they've even been out digitally or on vinyl. This is Holy Diver Live, one of the best Dio albums ever. And they did this 3D cover. It's a triple LP also, so you've got 3 records, and it's in 3D, and it's Dio. I think it should have been called in 3Dio cover. Okay, that's my cheesy take. You got your 3D for the Dio. But triple gatefold opens up. You've got photos of the show. What's really nice too is it gives you a 12-inch insert of the artwork, which is perfect for those album jackets. So if you're one of those geeks who wants to hang up your records in a frame, you know, what's really cool is they give you the art to do that. So you don't have to actually put your record up in a frame. I thought it was funny too seeing, this is a 2004 release, I think 2006 show. So they do the entire Holy Diver set. Plus there's music from some of Dio's other projects with Rainbow and Black Sabbath. And I love he's wearing the Dio, the embroidered, what were those called, Lauren? Those wrist cuffs? What are those called? Sweat cuffs or whatever. Remember those things? Oh my God. I remember all the metal bands in 2000s wearing those sweat cuffs on their wrists. So I thought that was pretty funny. But you not only are getting a reissue now of the Holy Diver Live, they're also putting out Evil or Divine. So the Holy Diver Live was a London show. This one is an Evil or Divine one, and on the 3rd record you actually get some unreleased studio versions of some music. So it's got 20-something tracks on both of these releases. They're both triple LP gatefolds, and they both have these cool 3D covers. Hopefully you can see that. You know where it would look best though, is in person at your local record store when you're coming in to pick that up. So, or you can also buy this on our website. We will send it out to you. Okay, now it's time for the unboxing of the ultimate Black Sabbath Volume 4 Super Deluxe box set. How cool is this? I actually already took it out of the box just to make it easier to show off. I've been listening to this today. I got some interesting discoveries from this. I didn't realize that some of the extras, this is a 5 LP set with poster and book, but the outtakes and new mixes were actually done by Steven Wilson of Porcupine Tree, which we were just talking about him last week on the show. And he's a great prog master of the modern era, but he's also been going back and doing special reissues of, you know, I talked about it, Genesis and Yes and stuff like that, Jethro Tull. So this is my original copy. I have an old, 1972 press of Black Sabbath Volume 4. So I love to see how they kind of reversed the artwork and actually gave us a much more detailed photo of Ozzy on the cover. You can see, what do you call those jackets with the hanging tassels? You can see that a little bit better. But I thought that was really cool how they did the artwork. It's got all the listing on the back. But let's get inside the box set and show that off a little bit too. Oh, don't let me forget to show off this poster. So it's a 5 record set, but one is a double LP live show. So, where's my notes here? So this is actually, this is something that I really wanted to get because I already have the box set, but they did a 2021 remaster of the original album. Plus you get 2 albums of unreleased and like some studio jams. It's just great to hear Sabbath just jamming in the studio. There's a couple instrumentals too. Those are the ones that Steven Wilson mastered. They're actually really thick and crunchy and low. They actually sound lower and deeper than the original album, these alternate mixes. So the bass and drums just sound sick on those. And then you have a double LP live in the UK 1973 for the tour and release of this album. But the amazing thing about the albums inside, so you've got the alternate artwork for the cover, but each one has a different member on the album. So there you got your Ozzy, you got your Tony, got your Geezer Butler and Bill Ward on drums on the double LP. So that was really kind of a cool, respectful homage to Black Sabbath to show all 4 members on there. But let's show a little bit of this book too. I'm not going to go through all of it. I just want to show the quality of it too. It's a really nice hardbound book with photos of the band, but it's, for me, the history of the tour, the history of some of these releases. They even show all the different record labels. There's stories about the studio recordings and pictures of some of the posters from the era. Really cool job of putting together some of this historic stuff. my favorite part that was kind of checking out in the back here where they've got stuff about all the different records and releases here. Yeah, it shows you all the different artwork that was being done in different countries for some of the different LPs and 7-inches and stuff like that. So it's really cool to identify all the art that was done. So they're doing a whole series of these Sabbath ones. I should also mention, we only have a couple. I think it's well worth it for what you get here. There's a poster too, so they're actually going to be doing more of these Sabbath ones. And I want them just for the posters. The posters are sick. Here's a Snowblind poster. This is probably just mountains of whatever drug they were referring to in Snowblind piled all over it. I'm not going to say the word. I just realized on YouTube you're probably not supposed to say those things. But everyone knows the stories about all the partying and all the powders and stuff they were using at the time. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. But each one has a full-size different poster coming with these different box sets. And I just found out that coming up next month, I think, they're going to be doing the first 2 Dio albums with Black Sabbath. I think Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell are doing the special extended versions too. So do pre-order those upcoming releases if you don't want to miss out on these, because some of them are quite limited. But yeah, I've just been enjoying listening to this. I haven't had time to actually listen to the live album yet. So that's what I'm doing next. I'm enjoying that. So thank you so much for watching our Vinyl Happy Hour. Like I said, subscribe if you haven't. Click like below. And check out those links too for our staff pick, some of the releases we talked about tonight also. Cheers. Thanks, guys.